and teacher at Earth and Star Spiritual Wellness Center. And today I thought we could really just get a little deeper into what Earth and Star is, what we do, and how we can help you. I thought we could start this off with a little bit about moi. I actually don't talk about myself very often. In the past, I have really preferred to be in the background, in the shadows, not advertising myself, because I knew that the people who needed what I have to offer would always be guided to me, would always get exactly what they needed, and they have. But now we're being asked to reach a broader audience, to be able to encompass and touch more people. And so we're really putting ourselves out there so that we can accomplish our mission, what we were sent here to do. Even though I am the teacher on most of these videos, I am not doing everything. There's a whole group of people behind the scenes working on themselves daily and working on this space to provide a place for you guys to come to that's safe for healing, that's safe for learning, that's safe for your spirituality in general. And a lot of the people who you see me interviewing, even if they aren't board members or spiritual advisors, they are in on this in some way. They have contributed. They are part of our community. They are members here. So Earth and Star is a spiritual nonprofit that's dedicated to the journey of bringing you home. That is our entire slogan. I have my trusty whiteboard here. And in case you haven't seen, this whiteboard belongs to Nafi. So if you haven't watched that video, just look up Nafi. Our slogan is welcome home. If you can't see it, you can hear my words. Listen intently. Welcome home. This is our entire goal. Our goal is to help you. We are dedicated to the journey of helping you come home. Come home. And we'll get into all of that and what that means. As the teacher, I wanted to share a little bit about myself here because the teacher or the preacher or the president or whoever it is that you're actually going to be talking to and working with, who's in charge of the space, they're the people who you really sit with your own intuition and discernment and decide, is this the person who's going to help me reach my goals? Is this the person that I can trust to help me be who I want to be? Is this person capable of making me the person I want to be? And the answer to that is no. I am not capable of making you reach your destiny, purpose, or heal. Only you have the capacity to do that. But I have a divine mission and gifts to support that mission, to help you reach the goals that you want, to enlighten you along the way, to support you, to guide you into that space of home. So I just thought, let's get into all of these things. I'm constantly learning and growing. I'm constantly trying to be more for you guys, to get into deeper secrets, deeper understandings. So you may know me as a teacher, as a healer. I have studied Druidry for a couple of years, so I'm in the Bard level, but there's actually 3 levels. There's your Bard, your Ovate, and then your Druid. And so I've completed the Bardic grade, and my favorite part of that was working with the elementals. We really get, it's a lot about history and remembering history and telling stories and through poetry and music that tell a spiritual journey, kind of like parables. So people learn best through abstract knowledge because even though they don't know they're learning, it's something that sits in their subconscious that helps them apply their life into these different situations. And so the Bard uses parable type language through poetry, music, song, stories, and it helps people understand where they came from, how they can go about their lives in a helpful, peaceful way, acceptance, love, all of these things. And so we work with elementals along the way, earth, air, fire, water. And that, I think that was my favorite part of all of that. We're not going to dive super deep into that, but I just want to tell you a little bit about my learning, my journey, and my tools. People who have known me before Earth and Star, they really associate me a certain way. They might associate me specifically with shamanism or specifically with certain elements. And Earth and Star is much more expansive than that. It's all encompassing for the entire human experience, because as humans, I don't fit into one little hole or notch that you have. We are on this journey together, and together we can do everything that needs to be done, everything that you need healed, everything that you need guidance on. We are here to do this together, either through me or my team of supporters or other people that I know who do amazing things. So shamanism is just one little check. It's one little tool in the tool belt of how I, as a teacher, help you along the way. I have the Bard. I'm also an angel channel. And if you've watched a couple of my videos, I think there's at least one up right now where we kind of channel the Archangel Metatron and different archangels. I work very closely with Metatron, Uriel, Gabriel, and Raphael has been coming in a lot lately. And when I say channel, I don't just mean that I receive messages. I mean I am an open channel for angelic activity. What that means is that angels can sit down inside of my body and speak and move much like a channel medium would. And I realize that this is something that we don't see a whole lot these days. It's something that often might be feared by some people, and for good reason. Let me show you why. If you remember from our past videos, we talked about source energy and how source energy within the space of the world that we live in is broken into duality. It comes from oneness and is broken into dual space within this dimensional frequency. And so if this is source, then when it breaks into duality, we have multiple streams of dualness on either side. Now, here you might have, closest to source, you might have your ascended masters and archangels. So we'll just put archangels here. Here you might have other angels, you might have other guides, you might have power animals, archetypes, gods, goddesses, all of those things. And on this side, we have the opposite of that, where you have light on one side, you have dark on the other side. So on this side, I think that we classify them as devils or demons or whatever it is. So angels, demons, source, so you could say that this is God, okay? Now, the interesting thing is, you may have even heard a statement like this before. There's a quote that says, the brighter the light, the bigger the shadow, or the longer the shadow. That is true. And that is because the higher you work in light frequencies, you are also working in matched frequencies on the other side, whether you know it or not. That means that if you are capable of reaching very, very close to source in these archangel realms, you are also capable of reaching very, very close to source in the demonic realms. So what that means is, if you can channel an archangel, you can channel a demon. Archangels are over legions of angels. High-ranking demons are over legions of demons. And one thing that you may not know about me is that I've been seeing angels and demons since I was a young child, since I was 2, 3 years old. All of my childhood memories, all of my young childhood memories include angels and demons in my household. So what does this mean though? Because there's probably a lot of fear associated with this, which is why people tend not to channel things with their physical body. It becomes dangerous if we're looking at whether demons can get in as well. Now, how I see this is I have done this and I have done this multiple times. And both are helpful. You just have to understand duality. We've talked before about how we can't just live in the light because there'll be no power behind what we're doing. We'll see where we're supposed to be going. We'll see our destiny, our purpose, our end goals, but we won't have the power and empowerment to get there. Whereas we can't just live in the darkness either. We'll have all of the power, but we'll have no vision for where it's supposed to go and how it can help us reach back to source, which means that we become corrupt or obsessed with anything having to do with power. So this is money, sex, fame, all of these things. This is what happens when we're only in the darkness. And so what we do is we fall into our darkness. We stand up to our fear. We face every fear that we have. We face all of our darkness, all of our self-rejection, and that becomes our personal power, leading us back into the light. So these energies begin to go around and around, connecting until we come into oneness with our God self. I know this is a complicated concept, but I did want to say that so that we all have an understanding that even as light workers, if we are a light worker, we are only a light worker so that we can drudge into the darkness at those same frequencies and shine the light, expose the fear, expose the wounds, and bring that into empowerment. So if you are a light worker and you refuse to face fear or look into darkness, I want you to just, I'm not going to say anything mean, but I want you to really look at your life path and how far you've come and where you're going with that, and if you have enough power and stamina to get there. You have to be in a full state of self-acceptance, facing all of your own fears. Any fear you have to be able to just jump off the cliff into it, because that's the only way that we're ever going to reach the light, learn to fly, come back to source energy. Safety will always, because if it's based in fear, it's always going to try to keep us here. So my favorite part of being an angel channel is that I can reach all these different frequencies. I have to be a very, very high frequency to be able to reach either side if it's this close to source energy. Even in the Bible, let's go back, even Lucifer was an angel who was cast down for his pride. So even back in these stories, we can see these actually are angels as well. It's just learning what they do for us. I don't work with demonic energies at all, but I do face them on a daily basis in order to shine light into that space. We do this for clients. We remove entities, attachments, things like that, because those things are only there because we have wounds that we have not faced or healed that's keeping us in these frequencies from moving forward. Anyways, moving on from that, because that's only two things that I do. I'm a bard and I also channel angel energy. These are all of my certifications. So let's look at this for a second. Okay, I started my journey as a licensed practical nurse and telling you that story. Okay, so I entered nursing not because I was super interested in it. I actually wanted to do psychology, but it seemed that nursing just felt like the practical thing to do while still getting to help people. And so I get into nursing, and my favorite story to tell is I had been a nurse maybe 3 or 4 years at this point, and a client came in and she was young, she was in her early 20s, who suddenly just couldn't walk. She was slowly losing the muscular strength in her legs. Eventually, she ended up hospitalized. They had her running all kinds of tests, on all kinds of medication. They couldn't find anything wrong with her. And after about a month or two, one of the doctors just puts her on an antidepressant. I don't know why he did. It may have just been because she was depressed from laying there for so long. She had kids. She was young. They put her on an antidepressant, and guess what? Within a week, she could walk. They send her home. They said, okay, it must all be psychosomatic. And a month later, still on her antidepressants, she couldn't walk again. She lost all that again. And a light bulb lit up inside of my head, me still in my early 20s, a light bulb lit up inside of my head that said, all diseases are linked to an emotional illness. And that began my spiritual journey. All diseases are linked to an emotional illness. She had depression, and this depression, this emotional illness, was linked to something that she'd been through or some belief that she holds. So that's my favorite part of nursing. We'll get into more about that later. Let's just focus on the teacher here and what you want to know about me and how I'm qualified to help you. Okay, so I guess all this is nursing. First responders, nursing, okay. Then, and I marry people, by the way. I am a notary, and somewhere in here I am an ordained minister. So I can marry people, I can do hand fasting, which is super exciting and fun. And also, when you think about Earth and Star, if you choose to, you can think of me as your friendly neighborhood spiritual preacher. That's what I'm here to do at Earth and Star. I'm not here for a specific niche. I'm not here to, like I said, just fill that one little void that we have. This is all encompassing for all of the human experience. That means everything that we talk about will be things that you're going through, how you can help, bring peace to yourself and wholeness. And so if that helps, and actually Earth and Star Spiritual Wellness Center is classified as a religious nonprofit. And we do that because we want to be able to bring spiritual knowledge and teaching to everybody in a way that isn't standardized or categorized as monetary and trying to make money. We're putting out these teachings for free. We want you to reach home. We'll get more into that. We also need to be supported in order to have this community space. But this is what's important: the channeling, the love, the wholeness, the touching, the emotional touch, the love, the heart space that you get from being here because you know that you're loved and accepted and belong here is the most important thing. Okay, and then we go through all the Reikis, because I do have my Reiki master over here, first degree, second degree, Reiki master, certified crystal healer, guided meditation, facilitator, dream interpretation. We talked about license of ministry. This was my first shamanic certificate, and I have my shaman master teacher certificate over here. So shamanism has been a big part of what I've done in the past, just because it's such a big certification. It's not like the crystal certification or the guided meditation certification that just lasts a day or a couple of days. That one took me years to accomplish, same as the Druidry stuff. And what that does is it becomes a way of life. It changes how you think, how you feel, and how you live. So it's not just something that you acquire in a day and then apply in. It's a big tool in the tool belt. And this is why I know how to do soul retrieval, destiny retrieval, things like that. And it actually really fits in beautifully to all other religions, all other earth religions, Christianity. Shamanism isn't a religion. It's actually a way to spiritually heal, a way of life, like I said. And Druidry, I learned, they call themselves shamans within Druidry. And shaman's just a term from Siberia that talks about a person who is a healer, who is the preacher, who is the medicine person, who is the person that people go to for their physical, spiritual, and emotional health. So that's why we use that term. It doesn't just mean a person who shakes a rattle over your body and calms the demons. We're talking about something that's very encompassing here. And it fits, like I said, it blends perfectly with the Druidry, and it blends perfectly with Christianity or any other religion. Because what it's doing is it's teaching you, here's my wounded space. Here's the story I keep repeating in my mind about this thing that happened. Here is how I'm stuck in that. And here is how I can release that. It's working with the energy, with the mind, with the spirit, and the physical body. Now, I also have hypnotherapy certification in here. This is another shamanic Nusta Karpai. So this one is about the feminine goddesses within shamanism. The Akashic records, I can read those. Quantum healing. And I'm currently working on, it's called RBT, Mindset Coaching, Mindset Life Coaching. So REBT, this is your rational emotive behavioral therapy. So how that's different than your regular counseling or therapy is that we believe, going back, okay, I need to write this down for myself. REBT. So what this really stands for is that the therapy that we're doing goes backwards. We're looking at your behavior, and your behavior, how you react to the world around you, how you view the things that are happening to you, and how you go about your daily life. Your behavior is due to your emotions. I react this way or act this way because I feel this way. And we feel this way because our mind is telling us to feel this way. We have a perception that this thing is happening to us. And in REBT, it goes a little further than regular counseling because not only do they want to change your mindset and your perception about things, they want to change your belief systems about things. And that is how it fits in beautifully with shamanism, with Christianity, with whatever religion you have, with Druidry. It all fits in together beautifully because within unity, all of your belief systems can be torn down and should be torn down. Every belief system that you hold is limiting. So I can teach you as much about how I perceive things, but if I even hold myself tightly to those beliefs and not allow myself to shift and change and grow as time goes on, I'm limiting my own growth in spirituality. All belief systems are only held onto tightly because that's how we learn how to define how we live in this universe, and we have existential crises when we don't have a certain belief system, and it makes us feel unsafe when someone else presents with a different belief system. Which is why at Earth and Star, we don't teach any particular religion. We teach straight spirituality, and not spirituality that comes from other things that I've been taught. We teach spirituality that is straight channeled through. Every single one of these videos are just straight channeled through. Not because I learned them from a teacher or a different teacher or a different teacher, even though all those people had influence on my journey and my path. These are things that I'm channeling through because it's the time for us to hear them. So changing our belief systems changes how we perceive and view the world. Now, our belief systems could be positive or they could be negative. And the point is that any limiting belief system that's keeping us from being big, from being powerful, from feeling whole, from feeling accepted, that's causing negativity in our life and keeping us from growth needs to be torn down. Changing the way we think changes how we perceive the things happening around us. You can bump into somebody at the grocery store and they could be like, oh, sorry. And if you have a negative belief system or a belief system that people take advantage of you, if you have a belief system that people don't like you, that you have low self-worth, those sorts of things, then you will be perceiving that thing happening as if someone was being mean to you, they didn't care about you, they infringed on your personal space and didn't care. And then you're going to have an emotional response to that, and that emotion could be anger, outrage, hurt, pain, And then you're going to have a behavior because of that emotion. And that behavior could be saying something mean, driving recklessly on your way home because you're angry. It could be crying for the rest of the day, even if you don't understand why, because you just feel sad. There could be a lot of things. But if you have a positive mindset, meaning that you know you're empowered, that you have high self-worth, that everything that happens in life is for a reason, you may have the perception when that happens that this person is having a bad day and maybe they need some help. If you're perceiving they have a bad day, that's what you're thinking. Your emotions become one of love, compassion, and then your behavior is that of helpfulness or sending good energy or things like that. But the reality is that everything that happens is completely neutral. It means nothing. Nothing means anything. It's only our perception of the thing, emotional response and behavior reaction around the thing that gives it any meaning at all. Thank you. That's my spiel on REBT mindset therapy. So all of these things, they really just are tools in my tool belt of how we can help you reach your goals. Now, at Earth and Star, we stated that we are a spiritual nonprofit dedicated to bringing you home. What is home? You might be asking yourself. What is home? So okay. What is home? Let's see. We help you reach this space through a variety of different ways, but when we think of home, not everybody had a good home life when they were young, so not everybody has a big sense of home, but everybody knows what it feels like to feel like you belong somewhere, to feel loved and accepted and safe somewhere. So when you think of home, I want you to think of your body, your emotions, and your spirit. Because these are your home in all of reality. Your body is your temple. If we are spirit, if we are soul energy, our soul here in this human realm lives in our physical body. So our physical body is our soul's home. This is our house. This is my house, guys. And my house looks different from your house, and your house looks different from his house and her house. All of our houses look very, very different because we designed them ourselves before we built our house. And our house is built for a very specific reason to help us reach very specific spiritual goals. So, when we think of this, and honestly, when I was a kid, my dad used to tell me all the time, don't drink, don't smoke, don't have sex, don't do all of these things because your body is a temple. Yes, but it's my body and I'm here to have this human experience, and the human experience is experiencing all things. So, I really want to get into a tangent right now. I really want to. Let's do it. No. Okay. We're gonna wait on that one. I'm getting all kinds of guidance. I'm like, yes, no. My guides argue with each other, man. I tell you what, they really, really do, because they're all different frequencies, and one's like, do it, and one's like, wait, guys. So, okay, when we think of our temple, this is how much we eat, what certain things that we eat, the fuel that we put into it. This is how we clean our bodies, the cleanliness of our home, keeping it healthy. This is also our exercise, how strong is our house. And if you think of your actual house, you have to change out your, what are they called? Your shingles. You have to change your shingles on your roof. You have to do all kinds of different things. You have to clean the inside of the house. You have to keep it looking good. You have to keep it strong. You have to replace things here and there. So there's always things to be done to your home. So just in that same way, there's always things to be done to our home. We have to be mindful of how we're treating our bodies. Now, with our emotions, we are looking at your feelings of acceptance and peace. Acceptance and peace. This word is peace, if you can't see it. Acceptance and peace. Your emotional body really just needs peace. That's really all it needs, is peace and your acceptance. Not everybody else's, yours. Your acceptance. This goes back to those shadow realms, facing your fears, accepting all parts of you and who you are and the things you've done and what you're here to do. You need your acceptance. But also, since we're facilitating you, you have our full acceptance as well. And this brings us a sense of peace. When our emotions and our mind is at peace, then everything flows. This is the total surrender. We have to come into peace. We have to surrender our ego needs in order to let divinity come in and do its work. Now we have our spirit, and the spirit is our realization and understanding of our God self, our personal empowerment. God, self, and empowerment. Look, until you have really done your healing work, you may feel separate from God. You may feel like you don't have a sense of power, like you don't have much of a choice, or like you have to compromise yourself, your choices, and your sense of worth in order to be favored or to fit within a certain box. When you come into health of your spirit, you are completely 100% authentically you. You don't have to fit into any box. This also doesn't mean having to scream about it. I think when people are first finding their voice, there's a little imbalance that tends to happen. People who go from never speaking up, never being authentic, never getting to choose their own stuff, being very powerless, choiceless, all of that stuff, by the time they finally come into their empowerment, they're very in your face about it and trying to make points about everything. And that's beautiful. That's part of the journey. That's part of the story. And when you're mature in your God self, you just get to be exactly you. Something very authentic, something very free, something very wild that's just you. And that is your God self. That's understanding. When we seek to come home, it's our understanding that we care for our bodies and our temple, that we're not putting anything into it that lowers our vibration, that creates cords to other people who are not healthy for us in our journey, or who are not coming with us in our purpose, in our journey. It is really working on ourselves to bring emotional stability and peace and acceptance to ourselves, doing all of our healing work, and coming into our spirit. A healthy spirit is where we are empowered. I know that when source energy broke apart, it was to experience, and that source energy went into this body that I created, which means that this temple is carrying God around everywhere I go. And so everything that I do and say is an expression of God. That is spiritual health. I'm going to get into that tangent. You know, the one that I said I wasn't going to, I'm going to do it. This guide over here won. Separation from God. 95% of all of my clientele have either a sexual trauma or a religious trauma. And half of the religious trauma includes sexual trauma. So there's this big separation that happens between religion and spirituality, between who God is, and the verbiage has completely changed because of this. We are taught that God is this unreachable person, and the only way, because we're so dirty, because we're so nasty, we're so wrong, we make bad choices, we just can never reach that level. And that the only way to bridge that gap is through Jesus. And so this creates this huge sense of separation. this huge sense of, well, why try? And we still have this longing inside of ourselves to search for our divinity. And so what we've done is we've taken God out of the equation, and instead we've come to other terms for what that means to us. And that's fine. I say spirit, great spirit, source energy. I say all of those things. That is the same thing, except we're taught in churches, and especially certain kinds of churches, that God is more, I don't want to say humanized, but personified in a way as separate from us. Whereas the term source energy is something that we know lives in everything. The term spirit is something we know lives in everything. And so I'm here to bridge that gap, to say God lives in everything. I am God. You are God. We're all God because I'm you and you're me. Everything is God. Energy, source energy, spirit. But that saying actually isn't completely wrong. If you think of the original wounding, there has to be an original wounding somewhere, right? Because if we're born feeling wounded, from past lives and so on and so forth, there's an original wounding somewhere. And I want to say that the original wounding was also the original blessing when we first broke apart from source energy in order to incarnate, in order to create the earth and then experience our creation. This was when we first became not part of the whole of source energy, but a piece of source energy inside of a body. Now, don't think of this like a puzzle, because in a puzzle, you're taking this corner here and placing it there. When I say a piece of source energy into a body, that one little piece has all of source, all of God, all knowledge inside of it. This is the entire ocean in one drop kind of thought, and placed it inside of a human body. Now, this separation quite often causes the original wounding that we feel of separation, because the frequency is so different from source energy to earth energy, 3D reality. So different. And within our consciousness, we remember our home. We remember source. We remember our original home. And that's what we're longing to reach for, longing to receive, longing to touch. And so the only way to reach that space again is through our spirit. When we come into realization that I am what I'm longing for, that I am that God source energy, that I am empowered, that I am empowerment, that I am all of consciousness and all of the world. And I really only get there through caring for my physical body, creating a strong, healthy temple, by bringing my emotions into a sense of peace, stillness, and acceptance, so that my frequency can be raised enough to reach my God self, to reach my higher self. When you are in lower frequencies, this is why that verse is not actually wrong. Because the only way to reach God is through Jesus, right? Jesus is considered fourth dimensional energy, Christ consciousness, love energy. And so if we're looking at this less as a person and more of a frequency or archetypal energy, the only way that our humanness can reach higher frequencies, to journey, to astral project, to see into different realms, while still in this human brain, is to raise our frequency through love, through higher dimensions. We live in a third dimensional space, but we want to reach fourth dimension and beyond to be able to reach our God self, our higher self, to see our purpose, our destiny, who we actually are. And that's the actual meaning of that saying within Christianity. But Christians don't say it that way always. Not to group. Some of you are amazing. Love you. But your teachings from most of your pastors are wrong. Wrong. You're perceiving it the wrong way, okay? We are the God self. We're only separate from our God self when we're in lower frequencies. Bringing ourselves back into love, doing this work is how we come home. Home. I am God. Home to our God self. Okay. I'm going to get off that. No, I'm going to keep going. This guide's really getting me. So, original sin. Original sin. I need a sip of water. Original sin. So, if we found this original wounding that caused the separation, what is this original sin? People who don't believe in reincarnation, if you believe in original sin, shame on you. That was actually a play of words because of what I'm about to say. So, I personally believe in reincarnation, that we go through all of these incarnations because we're here from source energy to experience all that life has to offer. And when we've experienced being every single person, doing every single thing, when we've experienced being every single animal, every single plant, then we get to go back to source or do other things. I think we even get to experience angelic realms if we want to. We get to experience all of everything. And then we come back to wholeness and completion within source energy. So it blows my mind when people who don't believe in reincarnation think that you incarnate with original sin, with a natural tendency to do wrong things. I think we only incarnate with an original sin or a wounding when we have had previous incarnations where these woundings have happened and we have not healed them yet. In which case, 20 lifetimes ago, we may have had some sort of wounding, but we don't heal it until this lifetime. And I think that's divine planning, because this is the lifetime where we're meant to heal that, where we're meant to come into our empowerment. Because remember, all woundings are simply pushing us into a space of growth and expansion and understanding of our own gifts. So all woundings eventually will come into some sort of healing, gift, empowerment, however many lifetimes it takes. So if someone is incarnated, if someone is born with this feeling of loneliness all the time, or this feeling of rejection all the time, they probably have gone through a wound in a previous lifetime. Now, this is different than the separation wounding, because that's a blessing. The original separation wasn't just a wounding, it was our first blessing. Our first blessing was our first curse. Imagine that within a dual space of earth. Duality of everything, right? Our first blessing was to incarnate and experience all things, and through that process, we first experienced lower frequencies and separation from the whole. Now that simply acts to keep us searching for those higher frequencies so that we reconnect back to our God self in every life, or in as many lives as we allow ourselves to. But original sin is different, because that's the thought that we are just born innately bad with this nature to do wrong things. You know what I believe original sin is? The original sin is shame. Think about that. A child is born so close to the veil, so close to source energy, that when they do their first wrong thing, it's really only wrong because we tell them it's wrong. It's either dangerous or something that we just don't want them to do. When they do those things, even if you've told them multiple times, don't do that, they still actually have no sense of what that means until they've experienced the consequences of that thing. Now, in a world without parents and adults and shame givers, the consequences of that action would end either in discomfort or pain for that person, or pleasure for that child. There are ways it would end naturally. Of course, we as caregivers and parents, we don't want the TV to fall on the child's head, so we discipline them for doing that. We don't want them to get shocked in an electrical outlet, so we discipline them for putting their fingers in electrical outlets. And so their learning becomes what we tell them, becomes our discipline. So even then, they don't understand until they get the experience of the consequence. In fact, I don't know about your kids, but my kids, I will literally tell that baby, and he's 3 now, he's not a little baby, but I will literally tell him over and over and over again, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. I'm asking you not, and he will smile at me. He will look at me and smile and continue doing the thing that I'm telling him not to do. And it's so precious. I can hardly even discipline him about it, but I do because it's unsafe, But my point is, to him, that's not a sin, because what causes a feeling, an emotion of sin inside of a person is guilt from the action of what was just done. I can do a million rebellious things all day long and love myself for it. I love that I sit up here and I yell and I'm authentically me and I carry on and I shake my butt. I love that about myself because that's who I am and how I act all the time. I don't change how I act in front of you. This is me. Sometimes I tone down the cursing a little bit for you. But this is just who I am. I don't feel that that's a sin. It feels like love. It feels good. But if someone were to come at me constantly saying, you can't act that way, you can't do this thing because of this and because of that, and I'm constantly getting negative backlash for who I am and how I act, that might cause guilt, especially if we have a manipulative type person who's instilling it. So instead of someone saying, you just can't do that, if they were to try to instill that heavy guilt, such as, well, you really hurt me when you do that, and you've ruined my day now, and, well, now I'm just this victim of something, that instilled guilt and fear, instilling fear as well. Fear is a big one. All of that creates a heaviness in the emotional energy field. And that heaviness is my definition of sin. If you have a heaviness that you feel like is sin, it's simply shame. You are carrying shame around something you did, something you experienced, something you witnessed, or something somebody else did to you. You are experiencing the carrying of shame. And so what we really try to do is release all of that. We can go back. We can make amends. We can go back in our mind and we can release all of those things. We can accept certain parts of ourselves and things that we've done and things we've been through and experienced without shame. We can bring love to those spaces, and then you have never sinned. It's as if nothing has ever happened. And if you go back to the original story in the book, read it a little differently now. That the original sin is actually shame. Because they were told, don't do this, don't do that. They were out in this paradise just doing whatever they wanted, exploring all of their creations as God. And suddenly someone comes in and says, oh, here's an awareness of something, your consequence of your experience. You shouldn't have done that. Why did you do that? Now you realize that you're naked and vulnerable, and now I'm going to create separation, and you must leave this garden. Shame is the original sin. So if you're carrying shame, let's work on that, okay? Not right now, but work on that. And you can work on that through these steps that we talked about, through your body, your emotions, and your spirit. So strengthen your temple as a strong foundation for bringing up your frequencies. Do your healing work and your shadow work to bring yourself into a state of stillness, acceptance, and peace. And will come into your spirit self, your understanding of your God self, your empowerment by turning all of those shadows into light and into oneness, by facing all of your fears, by revisiting and releasing all of those guilt spaces. We good now? Okay, I went on my tangent, so, okay. How do we do this? We talked a little bit about me, how I work, all of the tools that I have in my tool belt. We talked about what Earth and Star is as a spiritual nonprofit dedicated to bringing you home. We talked about what home is. These things are your home. Your body is your home. Your God self is your home, coming back to the home of oneness. We talked about all those things. Now, how do we do this? How do we come into wholeness and oneness? We do this. All of those things are done because of these three principles. These three principles are how you come home. Okay, we talked about what home is, and these three principles are how we come home. The first one, think of this infinity symbol and the word oneness. Our first principle is oneness. This is no separation. Everything has a place. This is your sense of belonging and empowerment. Oneness is our first principle. There's literally no judgment here, because I know that we're all one. I know everything that you're going through. I know everything that you've done is me in a different body, because we're all source energy. So there's no judgment here. None. Oneness, the infinity of all that is. We are all one. That means you belong here with me. I belong here with you. This is our empowerment and our knowing. Our second principle is wholeness. Now, when we think of wholeness, this becomes your gratefulness, your abundance energy, because this is your realization of don't need. This is your realization that you have everything inside already. I don't need validation from other people because I know that I am whole within myself. I don't need compliments from other people. I compliment myself on a regular basis. I don't need a partner, I don't need a sexual partner or romantic partner, because I know that I am whole on my own. I am not half of a person. I am a whole person. I am not searching for my other half. If I choose to have someone around me, it's because I love them, I care about them, and I think they'd be a good person to support me on my path, and I want to support them on their journey. Wholeness. We are whole within ourselves. We are not still searching. We are not still seeking. We do not need from the outside. Everything is within. We are perfectly whole as we are. The third principle, let's see if you can see here, is completion. Completion. This is our sense of duality and cycles that we go through. Just knowing that nothing ends, that everything just keeps moving, just like that circle. This is our sense of fulfillment, our sense of peace, our sense of flow. Everything's flowing, everything's moving, everything has cycles, everything has duality. It has a yes and a no. There's so much gray space here, but everything is just one. I'm not just female or just male. I am not just light or just dark. I am the oneness of everything, making me whole in myself, and I am complete as I am, and I will keep cycling. What this also means is that when I am down, I will not always be down. I will eventually be up again. What this means is that I have periods of creation and periods of destruction. I have periods of rest and periods of play. I am not just one thing. I am everything, and I'm constantly cycling through all of these things so I can keep learning, keep experiencing, keep building different things. We don't want to build a Tower of Babel. We don't want to just build one thing all the time without rest, without play, even without understanding. What we want is to be all things, to go through so many different cycles and create so much, to create a paradise of all things. These are the 3 principles upon which we assist you to come home. Understanding these 3 principles, working with these 3 principles will help you. And if you don't fully understand on deep levels what these mean yet, that's okay. Take these symbols that I've placed here, the infinity symbol, the triangle, and the square, and work with those for a little while. Even this wholeness speaks a little bit about your physical body and being whole in your physical body. Now, our logo, the Earth and Star Spiritual Wellness Center logo, it looks like, let me put it in blue so you can see it a little bit better. It looks like this. Something like that. And how we came to this logo is because I kept having this vision when I worked on people. Anytime something, anytime something came into a sense of completion or just being done, if I was clearing someone and I knew I was done in that space, I would see this symbol. Now, this symbol is very simplified compared to this one, but I started seeing that symbol. And this tattoo here, it looks like an upside down version of that tattoo. I don't know if you can really see that. And this symbol is actually the safe camp symbol of the hobo code. So people who hop trains, they used to put this code on certain places so that other people who were riding trains knew that that place was safe for them to be, safe for them to camp out, that this person would provide them with shelter. And so I just rolled with that. I let that keep coming in over and over and over again. And eventually it began to morph a little bit. And then I started seeing the 3 at the top, the 3 sticks instead of just the 2. So having the 3 lines at the top, I feel like really encompass our 3 principles within the whole: oneness, wholeness, and completion. So then it kind of morphed into this, and we made it into a bit of a 3D shape, right? Now, these last 2 parts of it came in as the earth, and it seems very simple, and the star. So we have a dot at the top and a mound at the bottom. So the mound and the star, I feel like represent a couple of different things. I feel like it represents duality within femininity and masculinity, within darkness, within light, within the earth energies, and then within the heaven energies. So it's just representative of all of the duality that's in the whole. And they're brought together by this space that represents safe camp or home. This really looks in itself like a teepee, which were original homes for certain indigenous peoples. Now, I'm not saying this is a teepee. I'm not indigenous in any real way. But this looks like a home with the duality. And one of the ways that I like to breathe when I work on people, because I think your breath is super important, is a super important part of your energy when you're healing. So you might notice a lot of earth religion type people or shamans or things like that they will spit special holy waters on people using their mouth, or blow on people using their breath. There's even something called Reiki breath, where we breathe on people, and it's because you're sending out a frequency that you are into that person and raising their vibrations and bringing healing. And when I breathe, when I'm working or when I'm setting intentions or when I'm meditating, I always have a visualization that I'm breathing up breath from the core of the earth into the bottom of my feet and into my heart, and that I'm breathing in breath from the stars, from the heavens, into my crown and into my heart, and that those 2 energies are mixing here. I was first introduced to this concept by Alberto Villoldo, because when you get a certain Moonai key right, this is the breath that you are instilling in somebody. And that struck me so hard when I realized that this is what I was doing with this logo, because I'm breathing the earth and the heavens into a space of love, of fourth dimensional Christ consciousness, Jesus archetype type energy. And as a healer, your heart space is really the biggest space that you work from anyways. And I was creating a oneness, a lack of separation, a lack of duality through that breath. Ah, beautiful, beautiful. So you've got a little bit of information about me and all the tools that I have in my tool belt. You got information about what Earth and Star is. You got information about what we do, how we do it through these principles, and even the why. The why of why we do it is to create a lack of separation. We want to bring everyone back home, back to their God self. This is our God-given divine mission. And this is why we're here. So I want to end this with a little card reading, my darling. Now, the word unity is coming up to me, and I don't necessarily like the word unity, because that implies separation to begin with, and something having to be unioned or reunioned. But within unity, everything is just one. And that's what we're seeking to create here. A sense of unity, a sense of oneness. So everything here is about your home. We're helping you be that. So how can we do this? Let's see what card is for the highest good of everyone watching this video. You might get a couple. Experiencing life as it comes, the drifter. So, experiencing life as it comes. This is your flow space, your completion. Which one? This one? Ooh, lay of the land, ancestral wisdom. The path has been laid. It's all been done. You set up exactly what was going to happen before you got here, and you have a whole team to support you. There are people here to support you. Guides, visionaries, missionaries, we are here to support. And then we have skywriting, or the fates. This card has a couple of different meanings, but I feel like the one that's really trying to come in is just about the heavens and those heavenly spaces, those higher frequency type spaces. So if we think of this as that breath, that union, bringing in those higher frequencies, the light coming in, the angelic frequencies, the archetypes, this is a high frequency breath coming to you now. And lay of the lands, ancestors, this could even just be earth energy. So what we're looking here, just between these three cards, I'm seeing our symbol here. We have the earth energies, we have the sky energies, and we have that peace feeling that we get when we're home, when we're within wholeness and unity. We're all here to be one. So within unity, we accept you. We accept you regardless of your race, regardless of your gender or lack of. We're here to accept you regardless of your religion. If we were to see Earth and Star Spiritual Wellness Center as a religious nonprofit, a spiritual center where we teach, where we help heal, where we guide as spiritual advisors, and where you can almost even view me as that friendly neighborhood spiritual teacher. I don't necessarily like the word preacher, I don't like that, but spiritual teacher. We're here to accept you And you, regardless of your religion, you fit here. You belong here and you're accepted here. And we fit inside of your life also, regardless of your religion, regardless of anything, because we're all just one. So this union is a beautiful thing. I'll see you soon.